Okay. Okay, so I've just started the session. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar on eVisas. Can I just confirm that you can hear me clearly? Can everyone hear me clearly? Thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. So yeah, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on eVisas. Thank you for being on time. I'm just going to do a very quick introduction for the webinar whilst we use, the few first minutes to allow some more people to join us. As you already know, this webinar is hosted by ACH. And for those of us who may be unfamiliar with us, ACH is a social enterprise, and we're focused on empowering refugees and migrants and underserved communities to integrate into the UK and thrive. Thank you. I've gotten that confirmation. Okay. So we provide this support through, tailored trainings, housing, and career services, employability support, educational support, and so forth, ultimately to help individuals build sustainable futures and thrive. Can I just add that today's session is going to be recorded just for the purpose of, having something to share with people who were unable to attend, and even with some of us who've attended, I would like to have another look at the webinar much later. So today's topic is an important and very timely one because the UK is transitioning from physical documents to electronic ones for I just had a bit of an interruption. Sorry about that. Okay. So the UK is transitioning from physical documents to electronic ones for evidencing immigration status, as most of us already know. And there has been so many questions and so many uncertainties because of this. And these questions and uncertainties are both from individuals to, organizations who are supporting such people. And it's been just very difficult navigating the system. And that's why we are here today to clarify, hopefully, to inform and also to empower each and every one of us here. And we are very delighted to have Sam. Sam Bass is an experienced immigration lawyer, and he's joining us today from Newfields. He will be joining us to shed more light on this topic. He's been working in immigration law since 2018 and qualified as a solicitor also in 2020. So he's got very extensive expertise and a passion for helping individuals navigate the complexities of immigration processes. So Sam is the perfect person to guide us through the changes to eVisas and answer our questions, hopefully, towards the end of the session today. So once again, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Sam, also for being here. So without further introductions, I will hand over to Sam to begin the session. Sam, over to you now.
Thanks, Christian, and hi everyone. Hope everyone's well today. So yes, we are going to cover the big eVisa switch, which I know has got a lot of people concerned. But yeah, my opening line is there's nothing to worry about. It is obviously a big change, and people are used to having BRPs having physical cards to prove their immigration status. But it will now be completely online. I think the switch period will be a difficult one, and I think it will have a lot of people concerned. But I think that once the switch over is completed, I think people will much prefer having a digital form of status, because you'll be able to access it from your phone, from a tablet, laptop, anywhere in the world. You won't have to worry about losing a card. So yes, eVisas. The Home Office released, I think earlier in the year or maybe earlier last year, they said that they were going to make a switch over to a digital form of status. They didn't give much information on it, and they haven't really given much information on it until really sort of midway through this year or towards the current time. And that lack of information has made it really, really difficult and really stressful for people. So the first main question is, what is an eVisa? So bit of background, most people in the UK from 2008 to very recently would have had a BRP, and a BRP is a biometric residence permit. There's a sample version on your screen there, and it was the main way to show that you had a visa, you had the right to live and work in the UK. Now, as I said, a couple of years ago, the Home Office started to put the expiry date of these cards as the 31st of December 2024. And since 31st of October 2024, so 3 weeks ago now, they've stopped issuing all new cards. And it's very important to note that whilst the physical card is expiring, the actual visa, so your actual status or the actual visa is not expiring on that date. It's just the card it is no longer valid. So the way that I like to explain it is that it's a bit like your driving license. If you've got a driving license, the physical card will have an expiry date, and you need to get a new card after that expiry date. But it doesn't mean that your driving license itself, that your ability to drive goes away. Okay? So please don't be concerned if you do have a BRP and it expires at the 31st of December. Your visa will expire after that point. Okay. Now, if your visa expires, if on your BRP it says a date before then, so if it says the 21st of December or the 30th of December, that is when your visa is expiring. So you need to submit a new visa application by that deadline. As I've said, after this date, after the 31st of December, you'll need to get an eVisa. And that will be the new way that people show how or how they show that they have a visa or status in the UK. Now, just a quick point, all of the links in this presentation are working links, and I've included QR codes there as well, so you can scan with your phone if you want to and go to the appropriate website. So if you do have a BRP that expires on the 31st of December, you need to complete the switchover to the eVisa. Now, the Home Office have said that it is not mandatory, so you don't have to. You can just let your card expire, but as I said, your visa will continue, but you will have a lot of difficulty in proving to your employer or to someone who you to a rental agency, or even if you internationally travel, you'll have a lot of difficulty proving that you have a visa to be in the UK. So it is really advisable to complete this switchover process. And the Home Office, the reasons why the Home Office want people to do this switchover is because you will have an online website, an online portal that you can show people that you do have your visa. And it will also show you much more information than is currently on your BRP. So it'll explain to you what, obviously, your name, date of birth, nationality, etc. It'll tell you your national insurance number, which I know isn't on all BRPs at the moment. It will tell you your current address. It will tell you your what your status is, so what category of visa you have, and it'll tell you any conditions that you have on that visa. So if you're on a student visa, for example, it will tell you that you're only allowed to work 20 hours a week during term time, tell you that you're not allowed to work as a professional sports person, things like that. Okay, your BRP at the moment won't tell you that. So why the change? So why have the Home Office decided to go this route to physical to digital status? So they've said that unlike a physical document, so unlike a BRP, these digital statuses, they can't be tampered with, they can't be lost, they can't be stolen from you. So it's much, much more secure. Also, if you're updating your visa, so you're either getting further leave to remain or you're getting a new visa, maybe you don't have a visa, and you're getting a visa, you won't have to wait for your card to be delivered in order to start progressing things. So I know a lot of issues that refugees had in the beginning was that maybe their claim was accepted or their appeal was granted, and then I'll deal with that question at the end. Maybe that, yeah, as I said, the you're granted refugee status, and you had to wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks for your card to be delivered. But in the meantime, maybe your asylum support was stopped, or you had a letter to say that you had to leave your accommodation, or you went to the job centre to get a job, or to sign on for universal credit, but you were told that you needed your ID card. So you're in this sort of limbo where you had your status because it had been granted to you, and you had a letter showing you, but you didn't have your ID card. Now, in theory, as soon as you're granted a new visa, or your visa's updated, it should just update automatically online. So straight away, you'll be able to start progressing things. And then, as I've said there, it's quicker and easier to prove your status at the border as well. So the Home Office want you to add your passport details to your eVisa so that when you're traveling overseas and you're coming back to the UK, you haven't got to get your BRP. Or if you lose your BRP overseas, you would have had a lot of difficulty at the moment getting back. But with the new digital status, it's all linked to your passport. They scan your passport. They know you've got a visa, and yeah, you'll proceed. So yeah, I'll deal with all of the questions at the end. But just quickly, what will be listed on an eVisa? It will be name, date of birth, nationality, what category of visa you have, what any conditions are on your visa, and on your UKVI account, which is how you view your eVisa, you'll have your registered address, contact details, things like that. So it's much more inclusive, has a lot more information, and it's easier to know for the Home Office if they need to contact you, that you'll get the contact properly. So the Home Office have also produced a series of videos which will try to explain different parts of the eVisa process, and I've put links to I put links there and QR codes. So if you do want to watch those videos by the Home Office, they are quite short, they're quite easy to understand. Feel free to take a look. So who needs an eVisa? It's quite an easy question to answer, and it's basically everyone who isn't British or Irish. So if you have a visa in the UK, you need to be getting an eVisa, or it's really advisable that you get an eVisa. So, so there are different types of status documents, and what you have depends on what you need to do. So if you've got a BRP, which will be most people will have a BRP, and they will be able to complete the switch over to the visa quite easily. If you have a stamp or a vignette in your passport, so this is like a large sticker on one of your passport pages, has your picture on it. It says what type of visa you have. You will there are a couple of different things that you can do. If your stamp or your vignette says that you have indefinite leave to remain or settlement, you need to make a no time limit application. And then as a result of that application, you will be issued with an e-visa. So people with this type of document will generally have their indefinite leave to remain. They will have had it for quite a long time. Okay, this is quite an old way that people had their status. So for example, I've had clients who have had indefinite leave to remain since the 80s, and they have a stamp in their passport which just says that they have indefinite leave to remain. That person needs to do a no time limit application, which should then result in them just having an e-visa issued to them by the Home Office. There's no cost to this application either. If you've got a vignette in your passport which says entry clearance, and you've had this given to you recently, so since the 1st of November, so only within the sort of last 3 weeks, you should be issued with an eVisa automatically by the Home Office, and you should receive an email from them. Or if you use your representative will have an email giving you the details of how you can access your eVisa. There is another way that you can try to do this yourself, which I'll show and explain a bit later on. If you've got a biometric residence card, so this is different to a BRP, it's called a biometric residence card, then you should have gone through the pre-settled or settled status route. So you should have made an EUSS application, and as a result of that application, you should have been issued with an eVisa. If you did your pre-settled or settled status very early on in the process, so I think it opened in 2018, 2019. If you did it back then, you may have been issued with a BRP. In which case, if you do have a BRP, you can just follow the method that I'll explain in a minute, and it'll be quite straightforward. But otherwise, if you've done EUSS relatively recently or sort of in 2020, 2021, you should have been issued a digital status straight away. And if you've got an ARC card, so if you're still an asylum seeker, you're waiting for your decision, you're not eligible to obtain an eVisa. An eVisa is a way to evidence your visa and your status within the UK. I'm not sure if the Home Office are looking to go if the Home Office are going to gonna go a digital route with that, but they may do. It wouldn't surprise me. And then yes, finally, just a point on traveling, because I know that people are quite keen to know about traveling. So until the 31st of December 2024, you should still carry your physical BRP, and that's advisable even if you've already got an eVisa. So the Home Office have said that if you do have a valid BRP, so for the next sort of 6 weeks until the end of the year, and if you are traveling and looking to come back into the UK after then, carry that with you. After that date, so after the 1st of January, you should just ensure that your passport details are linked to your UKVI account. Providing that's done so, when your passport is scanned at the border, you should have no issues coming through. We do have a bit of extra advice as practitioners that you keep a PDF or JPEG or print out a copy of your eVisa just in the switchover period, just to make sure that you've got something to show just in case. And then finally, as I've said, the Home Office have given a video on traveling. As I said, each one of these videos are quite short. They're around sort of 2 minutes long, 2 to 3 minutes. So you can watch that if you want. They're quite easy to understand. So now the big question, obviously what everyone wants to know is how do you create an eVisa? So step one is to create a UKVI account. Now, you may already have one of these if you've applied for a visa recently and you're a European national, or if you've tried to apply for further leave to remain. So if you've got a skilled worker visa or a sports person visa or another type of visa which you often extend whilst you're in the country, then you may already have one of these UKVI accounts. If you're a refugee and you've been in the UK for quite a while and you've had your status for a few years, you probably won't have one of these accounts. Similarly, if you've gotten your first visa and you're not European and you've come into the UK, say this year or last year, then you probably won't have one of these accounts either. But it's relatively straightforward to set up one of these accounts. And as I said at the beginning, the hyperlink to the blue text is active, you can click on that and it'll take you to the web page. Or similarly, you can scan that QR code if you prefer to use a smartphone. So you'll need a phone. The Home Office do say that you need to have an iPhone, so it's a relatively new one, or I say relatively new. It has to be an iPhone 7 or above, and I think they're on iPhone 15 or 16 now. So a relatively maybe within the last sort of 10 years, as long as your iPhone's relatively new, or an Android or Google phone. You have to have a mobile number, so you have to be able to receive text messages. You have to have an email address, and you have to have one of the following documents. You've got to have a BRP, or you've got a valid BRP with your most recent BRP number. Sorry, a valid passport with your most recent BRP number, or a valid passport and a GWF or UAN number. So a GWF or UAN number are application numbers for visas which were made overseas. So if you've made an application for entry clearance as a spouse or a family reunion or etc., you will have one of those numbers, and that'll be on your application form. So as long as you've got a valid passport and one of those numbers, you're still good to go. So when you want to create your account, scan the QR code, click the link, and then click continue. So when you do go to create your account, the first question that comes up is who are you creating the account for? You can say me, I'm creating it for me, or if you're a representative or if you work in a company and you've agreed to do it for someone else, you can say I'm doing it for someone else. Most of the time you'll create the accounts yourself. If you click me, next, and then they will ask you these to enter these pieces of information accurately. And these are in order of what the form asks you. So you put your name in, click next, ask you for nationality, put that in, click next, and then they ask you for your document numbers. So either your BRP number, your passport detail, or your application number. Click next, date of birth, etc. When they ask you to enter in your email address and your mobile phone number, after you've entered in each piece of contact information, so as soon as you enter in your email address, it will send you a code to your email and ask you to put in the code. If you can't put in the code at that time, you cannot proceed. So it's really important that you've got access to your email address and your phone number whilst you're doing this process. Okay, once you've finished that, you'll be shown this page, and this is step 2. So you've created your UKVI account now, it's up and running, and you'll be presented with this page. It will say, top of the list, link your eVisa to your account. Now, if you've already got a UKVI account, it will also list any previous visa applications that you've made on there, and you'll be able to access them and look through them if you want to. But for most people, when they create their UKVI account, they'll just be met with this screen. It will say link your account, your eVisa to your account. So you can click start, and that's the next step. If you already have a UKVI account and you need to sign into it, or once you've created your UKVI account, if you need to sign back in, if you've got a BRP, all you've got to do is put in your BRP number and then click next, and then your date of birth, click next, and it will send you a security code to either your phone or your email, and you'll be able to log in. It's quite easy, quite straightforward. So going on to your eVisa, once you want to start the form, the first step is to confirm your identity. And this is the most difficult part of the entire process. I can assure you, it's not a very difficult process, but this is definitely the most difficult part. And the reason why it's difficult is it can be quite temperamental. You'll be asked to download an app on your phone. So this is the first step of confirming your ID. If you've got an iPhone, you can use that link or that QR code. If you've got an Android or Google, you can use the bottom one. You'll download the app, Okay. And then once you've downloaded the app on your phone, on the application, on the eVisa form on your screen, it will show you this, and it will say once you've downloaded the app, open up the app. You've got to connect it to this form. You can do it one of two ways. On the app, it will say connection code and then give you a 5-digit code, or you can opt to scan the QR code. So the easiest way we found is with the connection code. So you just enter in the 5 digits, which are displayed on your phone, into this form, and then click next, and it should connect your phone relatively easily. After that, on your phone, you'll be asked these following steps, and it will be to scan your ID document. So if you've got a BRP, you will have to take a photo of the BRP. They'll ask you to do the front and back, and then they will ask you to scan the chip in your BRP. The way that you do this is you hold your phone over your BRP quite closely, and you slowly move your phone around until the green bar starts to fill up. Once the green bar has started to fill up and is complete, it will take you to the next step, which is to scan your face. So it will then open up your front-facing camera on your phone, and it will try to scan your face. You'll have to hold your face in a circle which is drawn on the screen, and it will sort of scan your face. After that, you take a photo of yourself. The photo has to be against a white background, ideally, or a plain wall, and that photo will be the photo that's used on your eVisa. As I've said, each of these screens is what is displayed on the app itself. So you can take some time to look at this page of the presentation in as much time as you want to afterwards, and you can study those so you know exactly what you're going to have to do when you start the eVisa process. So once you've done this, once you've scanned your card and you've taken a picture of your face, your application will update. So the top line where it says confirm your identity, that will say complete. And then you just follow the next steps. And you can finish this application form pretty quickly. It takes about 5 minutes. You enter in your BRP number. You then confirm your location. So you just put in your address, your contact preferences. You check, would you prefer to receive emails or phone calls or letters? Select the option available. You then put in some account security questions. So this is just in case you lose access to your account. You have some security questions that you can answer. You then submit. Okay. Once you've submitted, you are done. Okay. You've created your eVisa. Your eVisa may not be available straight away. It may take a couple of days to come through. There have been reports of it taking up to 8 weeks. Okay, it seems to be on a semi-random basis, but don't be concerned if it doesn't appear straight away. The Home Office have said that you should receive an email as soon as it is ready. If you don't receive an email within 8 weeks, you can sort of contact the appropriate you can contact the appropriate center within the Home Office, which I put the contact information on. But there is a final step, which is sort of a post eVisa step. So this is once you've completed your eVisa, you need to link your passport information to your eVisa. So if you've created your eVisa with your passport, you can ignore this step. But if you've created it with your BRP, you can add your passport details by selecting that link there to update your UKVI account, or you can scan that QR code and it'll take you to the relevant page. And then you just add in your passport information. And the reason why this is really important is because when you get to the border, if you travel internationally, as I said before, they'll scan your passport and they'll want to see on their system that your passport number is linked to a visa. Otherwise, you'll turn up at the border, they'll scan your passport, and they won't see a visa, and they'll say, well, you're trying to come into the UK. So have you got a visa? And you'll say yes, and then you'll have a lot of questions then to try and explain why your visa is not not displaying correctly. So again, the Home Office have created a visa trying to explain how to do, a video trying to explain how to do this. So feel free to watch the video as well if you want to. So that as I said is really it. It's not a very long process. There's nothing to be worried about. It is relatively it's not a relatively difficult thing to achieve. It can be done quite quickly. It takes about 20 minutes all in all. And once you've done it, you've done it then. Okay. There's no need to update this. When you do get new visas, or if you have to get a new visa, or if you change visa, everything should be updated automatically. So the frequently asked questions, and I know a lot of people have these, and I'll be happy to answer the individual questions at the end, but these are the ones that we've come across and that we've been asked. So how long does it take? So creation of the UKVI account and an eVisa takes about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes if you want to take your time, but it is really quite a short process. After the submission of your eVisa, as I said, you should get an email confirming that it's active. It might take a few days. It could take up to 8 weeks. If it takes longer than that, obviously reach out to the Home Office. They are experiencing technical difficulties at the moment. They are actively updating the system quite regularly, so things may change. This presentation was completed a few days ago. There was maintenance on the system last night, so that things may change. It is an ever-evolving system. So the other main question, which we get quite a lot, is, do I need to do this before the end of the year? So before my BRP runs out? And the short answer is, it is advisable that you do so, because otherwise you won't be able to prove that you've got a visa to anyone else. The Home Office have said that you should still be able to use your card, your BRP card, and scan it with the app and use it in that way after that date. But we've not been able to test that because obviously it's not yet been the 31st of December. In the new year, on the 2nd of January, we'll probably be testing that ourselves. But it's something that we haven't tested yet. And yes, as I said again right at the beginning, your visa is not affected by whether or not you complete the switchover. Your visa will still be active, but as I said, you will have significant difficulty in proving your immigration status to anyone else, because your card will have expired and you won't have anything to point to say this is actually when my visa expires. So what do I do if I travel internationally? So if it's before the 31st of December and you're going to return to the UK before that date, still carry your BRP. Okay, nothing's changed in that regard. If you're traveling after the 31st of December and you're going to return in the new year, then providing that your passport number and your passport details are linked to your UKVI account, you shouldn't really have any problems at all. We do advise, though, that you carry a printed out or digital copy of your eVisa on your phone or physically, just in case you're asked any questions. Okay, it is a very new thing. Border officials are people too. They may not quite know what they need to be doing or what they need to be asking or what they need to be checking, or the system may have issues on the day that you're looking to come back into the UK. So just try to do what you can to avoid any issues. Another question that we've had a lot of is, do I need to do this for my children? So I've got dependent children on my visa, or I've had a new child, or whatever it may be. Do I need to create them an e-visa? The answer is yes. Yeah, so every individual person will have an individual e-visa now. So you can, if you just replace the word e-visa with BRP, So if someone's got a BRP, they need an eVisa as well. Okay. The next question is, how will I prove my right to work or rent? And luckily, nothing has really changed in this regard. Okay. You should be able to generate a share code using that link. And when you log into when you click onto that link or scan that QR code, it will give you the option to generate a share code using an eVisa. Okay, so the process should be much more streamlined. But I know people are having obviously concerns that their employment are asking them for updated visas or what's going on, or etc. Once you've created your e-visa, the system will be much more streamlined. Big question as well is what should I do with my BRP after the 31st of December? So you may be tempted to just throw it in the bin or put it in the cupboard somewhere, but the Home Office do advise that you keep that BRP, retain it just in case, because you'll need the number to log into your UKVI account, and you may need it for future immigration applications. So the Home Office have advised that if you've created your account with a BRP, you should be able to change that login document so that the number that you need to log in, you should be able to change that to your passport afterwards. So you may not necessarily need that BRP number for much longer, but it is advisable just to keep that card just in case. And then finally, what should I do with my UKVI account? So once you've created it, what do you do with it? Obviously, you create your e-visa, but once that's done, what do you need to do? Answer is you don't really need to do anything. You can just leave it and it'll sit there. But you do need to make sure that your contact information is up to date, your addresses are up to date, and most importantly, if you get a new passport, so if you lose your passport, if you get a renewed passport, you need to update that passport information on your UKVI account. And then what should I do if I can't remember my login details or they're not working? So there's obviously something's probably gone on, and the Home Office have said that you can use the online web chat to speak with the resolution centre, or you can call them on that number. Again, if you scan that QR code, it will take you straight to the web chat, and you can chat away with the Home Office. And it's the same thing if you spot an error. So if something's gone wrong along the way, your name isn't spelled correctly, your date of birth is incorrect, your passport number is incorrect, something along those lines, you can complete that form, which is linked there. Scan the QR code, complete the form, and the Home Office should update it. The only thing that I would say is that if your date of birth is incorrect, but it's incorrect. So say your date of birth is the 1st of January, 1990, but on all of your documents it says the 2nd of January, 1990. The Home Office won't change that. Okay, you need to have some other evidence to show why they need to change that. But if it's just simply the information was entered incorrectly on the e-visa, they'll update it. So what should I do if I do not have a BRP or a valid passport and you need to create an e-visa? So the Home Office have said that you won't be able to do it yourself, basically. You'll have to contact the resolution centre and explain the situation. So explain that you might have lost your BRP and you might be from a country that won't issue you a passport. So you need to contact the Home Office and they should be able to resolve it. They should be able to manually send you some created e-visa that you'll be able to log into a different way. And what should you do if your visa is granted after the 31st of October? So this is when BRPs are no longer being issued. And you need to create a UKVI account or an e-visa for the first time. And basically, you should be able to create it, as I've said, with the reference number from your application. And the Home Office have said that in certain circumstances, they will email people directly to say, we've created a UKVI account for you, and you can log in here using this link. What should I do if the app isn't working or it doesn't recognize my BRP or my passport? So some passports don't have a chip inside, so they don't have a way that the phone can scan it. Some people may have lost their BRP or their BRP just isn't working with the app. And it should give you the option to arrange a biometric appointment at the Home Office. So if you have had a visa in the past, or you've got a visa currently, you've likely been to a biometric appointment before. This is just a very quick meeting at the Home Office where they take your fingerprints and take your picture. So you just have to go through one of those appointments again. You won't have to pay for it though. I'm pretty sure that there's no charge to these appointments. What should I do if I'm not confident with the process or I don't have access to technology? So I don't have the appropriate phone or I'm not very good at technology. So the Home Office have launched the Assisted Digital Service, and you can access that by emailing that email address, or you can give them a ring on the number there, and they should be able to help you with the process. And similarly, if you are vulnerable, so if you're disabled or you're I think refugees fall into the category as well, or if you've got any sort of mental health conditions, or if you're a child or if you're elderly, the Home Office have funded organisations across the UK to help those vulnerable categories of people. So if you click on the link or you scan the QR code, you will be taken to a list of organizations all across the country who will help vulnerable people complete the process. And there's no charge to this because they are paid by the Home Office. So if you do need help, make sure that you check out that link. So yes, that was our quick run through on e-visas. As I've said, it's not a difficult process. It's unfortunately it's quite a strange thing to go through. It's completely new. Not many people have been through it. So I understand there is a lot of hesitation and there's a lot of questions out there as to what needs to do. A copy of these slides will be available. They will be, I think Christy will be arranging them to be sent round. So please, obviously, feel free to look through, use the links, and yes, you can use this hopefully as a bit of a guide to help you along the way. So there are questions sort of flooding in at the moment. So what I'll do is I'll go back to the start of the questions, and we can work through those sort of one by one together. So hopefully I can answer them off.
Namita can assist you with this part so that it's
Yeah.
a bit easier for you. Namita, over to you.
Thank you, Sam, for this insightful presentation. And I see how you've tried to, address all the important points. So now the floor is open to any questions. If you think that your questions hasn't been answered yet, feel free to pop in the chat.
I think we have a couple questions.
Yes, yeah. There's a few. So the first question was, I don't have a BRP, only an ARC card. What should I do in this case? So as I've said, ARC cards aren't the EVs are for people who actually have status in the UK. I don't know what the plan is for ARC cards at the moment. I don't think that there is a plan. I'm as I said, I'm not too sure. But yes, if you do, obviously, if you do then get granted refugee status, then you'd be eligible then for the e-visa, and they should. I mean, as is currently, they should just issue you an e-visa straight away. But yes, at the moment, I don't believe that ARC cards are eligible for the e-visa switch. And then the next question was,
They've asked, is there a different number to call for organizations helping people apply for e-visas or not?
is there a different number available for organisations. So I don't believe currently that there is organisational support. I'm sure that I'm sure that the list of providers who help vulnerable, if you do have a vulnerable employee, they would be able to assist. If you do have a company or you're an employer and you would like some assistance with the eVisa switch for companies, I'd be happy to have a discussion about that. We are supporting businesses at the moment at Newfields with the switch over. So if you do need any advice, just let me know. But no, at the moment, I think it's only the Home Office have only agreed to support vulnerable categories of people or people who aren't able to use technology in order to switch over. Yes, so if you do need any help as a business, just feel free to ask. There's a few earlier questions, which was, can you repeat what will be in the eVisa? I think I clarified this at the time. It's basically all of your personal details, so your name, date of birth, nationality, address, contact information. It should also hold your visa details as well. So what visa category you're on, what the restrictions are on your visa. It should also include your national insurance number as well. So it will be quite useful in that regard. And then the next one was, can you send a link to apply to the eVisa? As I said, all of the links in the presentation are active, so you can click on those links. You can also scan the QR codes which are available if you prefer using a phone. So yeah, they're all in there. I do know from personal experience that there are lots and lots of government pages about e-visas and UK VI accounts, so it can be easy to get lost. So if in doubt, feel free to just use the presentation to navigate your way. Scrolling down.
There's another question they're asking, is there any app we can use or is it only available on the website?
Yes, yes. So you can, there's no app as it were. The only app that the Home Office have for this process is the immigration ID check app, which is what you need to use to scan your phone. You need to log in. You can, I think it has smartphone, or it does have smartphone support. So you can go onto the website, the Home Office website, and go navigate through the eVisa and the UK VI account with your phone using Safari or Google Chrome or whatever browser you use on your phone. But unfortunately, there's not a dedicated app. The Home Office might change that in the future. I haven't heard of anything like that because the website is optimized for smartphone use as well. But yes, but you will, as I said, you will need to download the immigration ID check app anyway. But once you've scanned your card and it's all linked up to the system, you can delete that app if you want to.
The next question is, what about people who are granted status after 31st October 2024 who do not have a passport, example, refugees?
So if you don't have a if you were granted after the 31st of October and you don't have any sort of passport or anything, the Home Office should contact you and provide you access to an e-visa. They can't just grant you status and leave you out on a limb, not being able to prove it to anyone. So that they should be able to. They give you access via an email, I believe, on a one-to-one basis. As I've said, this is an ever-evolving system, and it is relatively new. It's only been, I mean, those types of people would only have been within the last 3 weeks. So, the only thing that we can advise is what the Home Office have said, and what the Home Office have said is that they'll send out an email to those individuals, giving them access to an e-visa. They should create the process. The Home Office should create the e-visa for them, so they shouldn't have to do anything themselves. They should just be able to log in through the method that they've been given by the Home Office, and then they're good to go. Obviously, if they then get a travel document, if they're a refugee, they'll need to update their travel document information on the eVisa, and they can obviously use this presentation, find the appropriate link to update their UKVI account, scan that or follow that, and use that to update their passport information. There was a question earlier which said, I have indefinite leave to remain and I didn't receive any email on how to apply for it. So if you've got indefinite leave to remain, it depends on how long you've had it for. If you've got indefinite leave to remain and you've got a BRP, you have to follow the switchover process that I explained in the presentation, where you create your UKVI account, you then follow the eVisa form, you download the app on your phone, you scan your card, you then update your passport information afterwards. If you've had indefinite leave to remain for a long time and you have a stamp or a sticker in your passport which says indefinite leave to remain, you need to do a no time limit application. Once you've done that application, which is free and is relatively easy to complete, you'll then be issued with an eVisa automatically, so you won't have to go through that process.
There's another question. Is it letting you add refugee travel documents yet?
Refugee, very good question. I don't know yet because I haven't done one myself. But I do believe that they should be eligible. I don't know if you can create an eVisa or a UKVI account with a refugee travel document, but you should be able to add it as an additional document to your account. So providing you've got your BRP, you can create your account with your BRP. That should be fine. And you can then after that, once you've done that and you've done your eVisa, you can then add your travel document afterwards. I haven't tried to create a UKVI account with a refugee travel document yet, but I imagine that it should be fine. But I haven't tested that myself, and none of the guidance says, it just states passport. And I don't know if they're using passport in a catch-all way. So they may be saying passport, which includes travel documents. But I haven't tested it.
There's another question. How would an asylum seeker have a passport as the Home Office keeps them? Also, what do they do if their passport has been expired?
So, I mean, if a asylum seeker an asylum seeker wouldn't need to create an eVisa because they wouldn't be eligible to do so. But if you've got refugee status and your passport's expired, the Home Office have said that you should still. It was in the FAQs, I think. Yeah, if your passport has expired and you've been granted after the 31st of October 2024, you should be contacted by the Home Office by email. But if you're a refugee and you've got a BRP and your passport's expired, or you just haven't got a passport, it doesn't matter. The only time linking your passport to your UKVI account is important is if you're intending to travel internationally. That is when it becomes really important, because that is how the Home Office at the border know that you have the right to come back into the UK.
There's another question. Can't add new passport more than 2 months. Any advice on that?
So I'm presuming that means that they've been trying to add a new passport for more than 2 months, and it's just not recognizing it. The only advice that I have at the moment, sorry, is that if there is an issue, you should try to contact the Home Office via the web chat or the telephone number there. It may be a case that the passport that you have doesn't have a chip in it, and they're asking you to scan it and it's not scanning properly, or it may just be the case that there is an issue with the passport or there's an issue with the system. But if you do contact the web chat there or call them on the number, they should hopefully be able to resolve that for you.
There is another question too. How do small charities get funding to assist vulnerable people in the scheme?
So the scheme that was released was a few months ago, and it's closed now. There, as I said, there is a list of providers, I think, here who are funded organisations who will help vulnerable persons create that eVisa. If you are a charity and you've got service users which are in need of this service, the only thing I can really say is you can refer them to those funded organisations. But I don't think that the Home Office are still actively funding new organisations or new charities to help with this. I think that contract's closed.
There's another question. Does a residence permit without BRP enable eVisa generation through no time limit path?
Does a residence permit enable eVisa generation to the no time limit path? So the no time limit path is for anyone who holds indefinite leave to remain or settlement, as it is sort of called. If the residence permit that you're talking about is in relation to permanent residence, which was under the EEA regulations, you should have applied for settled status under the EUSS scheme, and then in doing that, they would have generated an eVisa for you. If you do have permanent residence under the EEA regulations, if you go back to one of the earlier slides, near the front, it'll explain that you needed to have gone through the. There it is. If you issued a residence card under the EA regulations, you should have gone through the EUSS application process first. Yes, so that would be the way to do it. If you do need any advice on what to do, or if you just need a bit more further clarity, just feel free to get in contact with us, and we're always happy to have a chat on individual cases.
I think that's the end of the questions. Does anybody have any more questions?
I know obviously the presentation today was scheduled for 2 hours, but it is really quite a small part of the process, but it obviously does have very, very big implications, and it is a very big turnover. The one bit of advice that I would give is that it feels, when you're going through the process, because there's been a lot of talk about it, a lot of speculation, a lot of unknown. When you're going through the process, it does feel like there should be more to it. But really, really and genuinely speaking, there isn't that much to it. It is as easy as I've explained. You create your UKVI account if you haven't got one. You follow the form, which is quite short. You download the app on your phone. You scan your BRP. You're good to go. As I said, the most important thing, which is what that you need to do, is just to make sure that if you are traveling, your passport number and your passport details are updated on your account. Other than that, as I've said, it's quite a simple, quite straightforward process. A lot of clients that I've had have done this themselves. They've not had any issues. Although saying that, as I said, it is very much the fact that um, um, your your status and your visa, what route that you've gone through depends on what route you're going to have now with your eVisa. So as I said, if you've got any questions, obviously you'll have copies of the spreadsheet of the presentation, but you feel free to contact us as well, and we'll always give you a free initial consultation.
There's another question. What is HO remedy for those who are traveling over the holidays, unaware of the move to e-visas, attempting to re-enter the UK on 1st Jan?
sorry. So the question was if they are what's the remedy for people who are traveling over the holidays? So if you can do the eVisa now, I mean, I've had clients who've done it within, as I said, sort of 15 minutes. You should be able to do it. If there are any technical issues, obviously you can go to the Home Office via the web chat or the number to try and get those resolved. Um, if they're away now and they're not going to be returning until the 1st of January, so they'll be away for sort of 6 weeks plus, I think you can do it overseas. I've never tried because I mean it's not a situation that comes up regularly in the office. But if you, I think you should be able to do it overseas, and create it. Otherwise, um, if you are looking to return to the UK and you are a European national, you'll be able to re-enter very easily. If you're a non-European national, you might find it a bit more difficult. But if you explain to the person at the border that you've had a BRP that's expired, you've tried to create an e-visa overseas, but you've not been able to, um, they should be able to resolve it in some way.
I think that's the end of the questions.
So there is one final one from
Yeah.
Becca, which just says, "What is the Home Office remedy for those who are unaware of the scheme entirely?" As I've said, the the e-visa, if you don't create one by the end of the year, your visa will still be intact. Okay, it doesn't affect the underlying validity of your status in the UK. The only thing that it does is it allows you to prove your status to other people much more easily. So if you don't do it by the end of the year, they're not going to cancel your visa. It's just you might struggle to prove to people if you need to prove your right to work, or you need to prove your right to rent, or you need to come back into the UK. You might just struggle to do that. So it is advisable that you do it beforehand. And then yeah, just to follow on, if they only find out whilst attempting to board a flight back to the UK on the 1st of January or a bank holiday, for example, they should be able to create it online remotely. So if you can get in contact with them and to say you need to do this process, here's a hopefully a helpful presentation that will show you what to do. There are always going to be people who are completely unaware of the situation and face issues at the border or at the airport. Um, and you can, I mean, they can try to explain the situation at the border. I'm sure if they presented their old BRP, the border official would be able to find somewhere on the system that they did have an active visa, or they had indefinite leave to remain, for example. But they are, as I said, they are going to have more difficulty. It's not going to be a smooth uh, transit like they used to. They are likely going to be stopped, and the border official is going to say this isn't valid anymore. I need to confirm that your status is still valid, so that questions, delays, things like that.
There's another question. If if they if they don't do it by 31st December, does that mean they miss the opportunity forever not having the e-visa?
No, so no, so the Home Office have said that you can still create your e-visa after that date, and you should still be able to scan your BRP or your passport without any issues. As I've said, we haven't tested it yet because we can't until next year rolls around. Um, the BRP scanning, when we've tried to do it previously with expired BRPs, the app says this BRP is expired, we can't accept it. But the situation might be different for BRPs which are dated the 31st of December, because the Home Office are obviously aware of this situation. So it may be the case that next year you can still scan a BRP without any issue, even though it's expired. And then, yeah, lost BRPs. If you do lose your BRP, you need to contact the resolution center.
I think that's the end for the questions now. Does anybody have any more questions?
As I said, obviously feel free to get in contact with us directly. Our contact information is on the presentation. If you do have any questions after the fact, presentation will be sent out. There are links, QR codes, and things like that, which will hopefully help. And there are little videos produced by the Home Office along the way, which they do try to explain things as well in short clipped little videos. So use those as well. There's a lot of information out there. But yeah, feel free to ask us a question if you need to.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you, Namita, for session and obviously the questions. Thank you to each and every one of you for joining today's webinar and for your engagement. We had loads of questions. We saw that coming anyway. This is a very important topic and really timely. Once again, special thank you to yourself, Sam. I know you're really busy, but you offered us the opportunity and time to be here with us today, sharing your knowledge and your expertise on this and very valuable insights. Please, before we wrap up, I'd like to kindly ask if you could take a moment to answer some of the polls which we've prepared in the chat sessions. We've dropped a couple of polls. I think we've also had them pinned, about 4 questions on there. Would really appreciate your honest feedback with us because that would help us to improve and shape, future sessions. As I said, SH is in the business of empowering refugees and migrants. So we want to keep getting better at this and we are here to assist, but we can only be able to assist you well if we have your honest feedback and, from this session. Yeah, so if we could please take a moment to answer the polls. And as Sam had said over and over again, we would be sharing this presentation. It's been recorded, so we'll be sharing this presentation with everybody so that you can always go back to it. And if you wanted to use it, in future, for future reference, it would be reachable. We're also looking to see if we can put together a short guide that you can always come back to reference. But certainly we'll be sending over the presentation much later after this session. And yeah, if we could all just answer the poll and then we can end the session. Thank you once again, and we hope you have a great day. Thank you. We can see some responses coming in. Please do feel free to leave, your suggestions for any other topics you think we need to discuss and you'd like some clarifications on, and we can work on getting that across. I am sorry, I've just seen a question. I can't see options for future training in the poll. If you could just leave your response on the chat, we would take note of that. My apologies. Indeed, there is no opportunity to impede something, but you could leave it in the chat. I'm referring to the question around what topic would you like us to cover in future webinars. You could leave your suggestions in the chat, please, and we would have a look at them much later on. Abimbola, you said your question on the polls is yet to be addressed. I apologize for that. We may have skipped that, but would you please highlight that question again and we can pop it over to Sam to respond to. As he said, he's available to assist even after this session. So if you could highlight your question once again and we'll pop it over to Sam, would that be okay? Hello, Jenny. Yes, it doesn't say what option 1 and 2 are. I have responded to that. If you could just leave whatever topic you think would be useful for us to address in ACH webinars in the future, that would be great. We have missed out in putting some options on there. So if you could just leave your suggestions on the chat, that would be great. We can pick them up much later. We have about 4 polls on here. So if you could just look through the chats and respond to the polls, thank you. We have missed out including option 1 and option 2, and I apologize for that. For the poll that says, what topic would you like us to cover in future ACH webinars? We haven't included any topics. We would like you to suggest your topics, your preferred topics, what you'd like us to talk about, and we can address this. We'll leave the chat open for another 2 minutes before officially ending the session. Once again, thank you to each and every one of you for attending. We have 1 more minute to go to the end of the session. And yes, it's now 12:15. Once again, we'd like to say thank you, a huge thank you to each and every one of you for attending. Remember, the presentation would be shared much later. And if you still do have questions, please reach out to Sam, like he said, and he would be more than happy to assist you. We hope that you all have a great day. Bye.